we have to advocate for ourselves very much. I have learned that it's you or no one else is going to do it for you. And I think that by us kind of being the first line of defense, sort of, where we're creating space for us and we're like pushing for our voices to be heard, we're teaching the younger generation to also start to do that for themselves while also making the way clear for them.
Hey, welcome back to the USU podcast. This afternoon we have a special guest, Alexa. She's joining us from the Aspiring Latino Lawyers, all organizations. And I'm really excited to have her the host for today's podcast. And we're going to learn more about her journey as a psychology major and a Spanish major. So before I dive into the questions, could you please introduce yourself more and tell us what you do, what your role is in the Aspiring Latino Lawyers, and maybe just a little bit more about the Aspiring Latino Lawyers.
Yes, so hi everyone, my name is Alexa. I am a second year here at U of A, majoring in psychology and Spanish translation and interpretation, and I am one of the I'm one of the communications associates for Aspiring Latino Lawyers. So my main job is to do things like this, where I spread our platform, where I get in touch with the media, where I try to just go ahead and expand us and put us in all the places possible and be a representative of who we are and what we represent.
And currently here at the University of Arizona, have you been contacting more students to join the Aspiring Latino Lawyers?
Yes, we are actively recruiting students, and we're always looking for people who either want to join our team or need to be supported by us.
It's great. I really love the Aspiring Latino Lawyers, given that I had a conversation prior with the founder of the organization. It's one of the organizations that supports and empower young people, adults, students who want to become lawyers in the future, people who care about advocacy, into connecting with the community and just empowering others, which is really cool. And it's a great mission, given that we really have a few percentage of lawyers in the minority groups, like the Black and the brown society and communities. And so this organization is something like that brings that hope back to the people. Like, you have the hope, you can do this, which is cool.
Definitely.
So why did you choose your majors in psychology and Spanish translation?
So psychology, I think, is a really good way to bridge the gap in helping me understand the way people think, the way kind of society functions, and this will be very helpful in choosing my career path. I'm still at a crossroads, but if I go to law school, I do think that this will put me at an advantage because it is useful to understand the way the brain works and the way people behave. And as far as my Spanish and translation major, it has a medical and law emphasis, and so this is just teaching me things that I will need, skills that I will need to help bridge the gap between languages and cultures, which is something that I have already been doing from a very young age. But this major is really personal to me because I am just very happy to be in a position where I can pursue a higher education and learn these skills that will help me connect the gap between the language barriers that a lot of people in this country face.
Yeah, and when it comes to language, it's really beautiful. It's like when you understand a language and you're trying to also work in that specific environment, you understand people in a deeper level because you can speak to them, you can connect beyond just one English language, which is quite beautiful and amazing, so that you're taking time to learn and understand the Spanish language. So how did supporting your little brother, because I remember you mentioned that you supported your little brother and that has really helped and given you more passion. So how did that help you know that you can fight for equity and you have that passion?
So I'd like to give a little background on what exactly my brother has. It's a rare genetic disease called Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and a very small percentage of boys in the world, and let alone the U.S., have it. And so what happens is that his body doesn't produce dystrophin, an essential protein for muscle strength, and eventually his muscles begin to weaken, and it is life-threatening, and there's no cure for it. So learning about this, he was diagnosed when I was 11 years old and he was 6. And this was obviously very impactful to my family. My mom came here with nothing, with no one. She was alone, and it was just her and her 5-year-old daughter and her 3-year-old, 2-year-old baby. And so when we got this diagnosis, it was a very impactful moment for our little family, and I found that my mom didn't really have anybody to lean on.
Yeah.
So on top of all these excruciating emotions that I can only imagine she felt and that we were going through, we had to deal with now all these newfound medical appointments, her learning about things we had never heard before, these medical terms, and it was a very impactful time for us. And as we began to enter this new world of appointments and hospitals and all of these things, it became very apparent that there was a huge barrier there that nobody else was able to bridge except for myself. Oftentimes I found myself translating and interpreting this devastating, life-changing news to her, and it is a lot of pressure to put on an 11-year-old. And it was a very difficult time for me also, but I found that there was nobody else who could have done this in these hospital settings, whether it was that the interpreters weren't competent enough, or most of the times there was no one really there to be able to help my mom and these medical professionals have a conversation. And so from a very young age, I started to learn what it meant to interpret in real time, what it meant to have to learn all these medical terms and give this very difficult news to my mom. And that's why, like I said, this major is very personal to me, and this is why I'm looking to pursue and put myself in a position where I'm able to help others bridge the language barrier.
Yeah. I'm really so sorry that you had to go through that at an early age, like 11-year-old, I'm just imagining interpreting something that you've never even heard about, and it's really sad news. It's not like you're interpreting good news, you're like interpreting sad news, which is really so sad in a way that you as an 11-year-old child, you can't even comprehend what's going on, and you also don't have somebody else to do that for your mom, which is quite sad. And I don't know how you felt at that time. I'm sure it was a very, very hard moment for you. So
middle school years were very rough for me.
Yeah, but I'm glad that you navigated that and you're able now to come up with a passion out of it, which is gonna help not only your brother but other people who are also facing those similar challenges. Now with the Aspiring Latino Lawyers, what do you guys currently do at the moment?
Our mission is to empower young children. You don't necessarily have to be Latino, but that is our main demographic that we tried to help. Empower them to show them that it's not impossible, and that there is a community, that there is a space, that people who look like them or who come from the same background as them can be successful, and becoming a lawyer is feasible. It's not something that is out of reach for them. And so our main mission is to provide resources for them, to provide, foster a community through workshops, through guest speakers and things like that, and really help them see that there is a way and that there are people who can be successful and look like them, and they can get there also.
And so besides you having workshops and having guest speakers who have the experience, will you guys also have something like a debate format where they can debate and practice how to do it?
I'm not sure that we have that yet, but we are fairly new, and so we are, constantly, this is something I can always pitch to Alex, and I'm sure that we can find a way to add that. So because we are new, we're always looking to improve, and we're finding our way and what it means to be all.
But I'm glad because one of the main things is first instilling hope in somebody. Because when we are hopeful, then we are able to think beyond that. But when we don't have any hope, of course, there is no human being who can survive without hope. But first instilling that hope in the young people, the young adults, is really very important, and that's a very great mission. So through your work so far with the Aspiring Latino Lawyers, what have you learned about representation and community?
I have learned that we have to advocate for ourselves very much. I have learned that it's you or no one else is going to do it for you. And I think that by us kind of being the first line of defense, sort of, where we're creating space for us and we're pushing for our voices to be heard, we're teaching the younger generation to also start to do that for themselves, while also making the way clearer for them. So I think that we're kind of paving through the very first steps or very first path to make it easier for the next generation to continue to pursue and advocate for their beliefs and their rights.
So then, like, you'll have something like a mentorship programs, like
yes,
grouping people according to their interests.
Yeah, well, we're not there yet, but we
Yeah.
do have like these speakers that go and speak, and also through having such interpersonal connection, because it's not like a huge panel, it's not a huge conference. It does provide better accessibility to be able to connect with that person. For example, at ASU All, we had a very important speaker. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but just like those kind of settings make it so much easier, and it kind of separates the idea that these people are 2 worlds away, and it puts them in a more accessible position for our members to be able to speak and connect with them.
And so how is like the recruitment process? How does that go? Like, do you just show interest and show up, or?
Yeah, we are open to anybody. I mean, like I said, you don't have to be Latino to show up. I mean, if you're interested in, I mean, I'm not even sure that I'm going to be a lawyer, but I am passionate for advocating for these things, for policy reform and things like that. So even if you're not entirely sure that you want to be a lawyer, even if you're not Latino, if there's even just the slightest interest in anybody to attend these panels, to advocate, we're open for everyone.
That's great. Like, it's great that like you have that community aspect, and then it's also like open, because some other clubs or chapters, they always, like, they welcome everybody, but like then you have to go through certain processes, which it makes it maybe long and forever for even to join. But it's great that like you have an inclusive community.
Yes.
So what advice would you give to a Latino students who want to make a difference in law, psychology, or any other field they're in?
I think that regardless of whatever field anybody might find themselves in, or even if you don't know, I think one of the most important things that I have learned here in college as a first-gen student, as someone who's trying to figure out life, is to not compare yourself to others. Like, no progress is linear, and no 2 people will go on the same path. It's very easy to think they know what they're doing, they have it all together, but at the end of the day, like, you don't know where they come from, you don't know how your circumstances differentiate. Maybe they're at an advantage. And so I think that that is my biggest piece of advice, is that focus on your own race, because what everyone else is doing is not the same as what you are meant to be doing.
Sure, like, and people tend to make that mistake of comparison, and you like you don't know what goes behind this. And I was like, you admire somebody just from the outside, you don't know what these people go through, you know, like. But if you haven't asked those questions, or if you haven't taken the time to learn whatever they're doing, and just comparing yourself, that doesn't help you in any way. But like, you should thrive to be better. You should strive to learn, but not comparing yourself as a whole. Like, I just want to be like that. Like, I just want to have everything that what that person has, because you really don't know what this person is going through, and we are all different and unique.
100%. Yes.
So looking ahead, how do you hope to use your career to continue advocating for underrepresented communities?
I'm looking for any sort of space where I can like make myself heard. One of my biggest passions, and especially with everything that's going on right now, is pursuing a reform in the healthcare policy that we have right now. The average American family makes about $62,000, and the treatment for someone who has a disease like my brother, it can range anywhere from like $52,000 to $82,000. So no average American family is in a position where they can pay for all these treatments from out of their own pockets. And I think that's one of my biggest things that I want to pursue, is a healthcare policy that really is helpful and is meaningful, and will take the load off of families who are already struggling with these things in their personal lives, and then they have this financial burden added on. So that is definitely one of the things that I want to pursue and do my very best to strive and make a change for. And then also our education policy, I think, or special needs policy. My brother's disease isn't just physical, he also has some neurodivergences, and the school system needs to change. It needs to change. It is not meant for these kids who have autism or who struggle with any other mental disorders. And a lot of the times we've had issues with schools and teachers because they don't take the time to learn about this student. And a lot of the time I understand that it's not their fault, but it's something that needs to change. and it needs to change at the very root of the problem, which is the funding that we have for schools, the programs that we have. So that's another area that I really want to help make a difference in. And then finally, the immigration policy. I know that this is a very sensitive subject right now.
For sure.
But this is something that is absurd. It's dystopian.
It is, yep.
Seeing, like, looking at the news, going outside and seeing everything that's going on, it's dystopian. It's not real. I can't believe that this is actually the kind of world that we're living in. And the people that are suffering these violences, these injustices, they look like me. They have the same color skin as me. Yep. And a lot of the time we share heritage. And even if they don't look like me, at the end of the day, we are people. And it's very evident that the things that are going on are not okay. And so all of these three things are things that I want to continue to advocate for and use, for example, opportunities like this where I get to be on this podcast and make it known that for everyone, because the more people know, the more awareness is spread and the more likely we are to be able to do something about it. So just continuing to advocate for us, to spread awareness for all these things is something that I'm going to do throughout my career, throughout my life, regardless of what that looks like.
When you talked about the neurodivergent and autistic students plus disability, I remember we did have a podcast with somebody.
I did see that. Yes, I watched it.
And I remember like he was talking about like sometimes the schools may have those resources, but they're not available to students and nobody even know where those resources are. And I was like, that is really challenging because how then are you going to benefit out of the whole educational systems? And like you said, sometimes the professors or the teachers, like, they're biased or they don't want to help, but like they don't know also what to do. So there needs to be like more trainings to support students in those situations for sure. And like with the immigration over, like it's really a very disturbing topic at the moment, but like I feel like there should be like more policies that will like help and support, you know, those people in those situations. So like, do you hope to work for non-profit organizations, for profit organizations? Like how do you hope to establish those policies?
I think that wherever the best opportunity presents itself, I am not like currently seeking, I will 100% work at a nonprofit or I will 100% work at a profit organization. I think that whatever opportunity presents itself and proves to be effective and will help me make a change, I am looking for a position, a career that will ultimately do that. And as of right now, I don't think I have a preference, but I'm just really looking to make some effective, tangible change.
Yeah, that would be great. So like when you talked about like your brother's illness, like when you look like at the national percentage, are there many kids suffering with the same illness?
There's not. It's a very rare disease. 1 in 1,200 boys suffer of it, and worldwide, let me pull up the stats, but that's another thing, because it's so rare, there's not a lot of money and not a lot of research going into this disease because it's perceived as, well, it's not that much of an issue. And again, this also goes back to the government funding and things like that.
And since there are only a few people suffering from that, so they're like, most of them may lack the representation they need, they may lack the support they need, because like there's no like much research done around that specific disease.
There's 1,500 individuals in the US and 300,000 globally. So it does come out to 1 in 5,000 boys affected, and it is a very small population, and this disease is very aggressive. It's life-changing, and it's very hard.
Yeah, it's really so hard to see that like there are few, and when I see like that population, I just feel like there is less like support into the field. So like with the policy that you're hoping to create, like will it be like to increase more funding, advocacy, or?
I would say to funnel more money into research for not just Duchenne also, but other rare diseases, because through this experience I've been able to be introduced to a world of a lot of other rare diseases and be able to understand that people who are part of these very small percentages are very affected and they're often overlooked. So I think a policy that funnels more money into rare disease research is something that needs to be done. And even here at U of A, like if I were to pursue a doctorate in psychology, I would love to be able to start a research lab that focuses on some rare diseases and see how this affects their neurodivergence.
Yeah, I'm glad you talked about like your PhD, I mean grad level, because I was gonna ask you like with your psychology, what exactly that you wanna specify, because when it comes to psychology, it's so broad. So like that was what I wanted to ask you. Like, do you like have, besides like the research, like do you have any specific where do you wanna go to?
Yes. Okay. I know there is a stigma about
Yeah.
psychology and how we're just going to become baristas after we graduate, but I think that I'm prepared to like seek the opportunities that I need to be successful. So I am, if I don't go to law school, I am pretty set on pursuing a doctorate or a master's in school psychology. So this brings me back to the same thing. I would be working in schools with children who are neurodivergent and helping, collaborate with the administration and the teachers and the parents and collaborate to make an individualized education plan that will help these children be able to learn and get through their school and have meaningful time at school.
That's great, because like you said, like there's that that thing, like when people like complete their psychology degrees, like there are a few opportunities, since many people do like go through that route. But like when you have a passion for something, there is a way you'll always turn that passion into something great. So as long as you have the knowledge, the education that you need, you can always turn it to like in any direction, and you end up helping out so many people. And when it comes to education, if you're able to work like in a higher like administrative offices and be able to come up with these policies, these are going to be lifetime.
Yes.
That will support like so many kids, so many people suffering from these rare conditions, which is really great. So I'm really excited for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So is there anything else like you want to share with the audience?
I think I have pretty much gone through everything. I think, obviously, thank you for having us. I'm very excited to be here. And okay, I think my final point is that advocacy is a lifelong art, a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
It goes on forever, and even if we solve an issue today, there will be another one tomorrow. And I think that advocacy it's a beautiful thing though, because it's helping people, it's a way of life, and it's creating room for change.
Yeah. And when it comes to advocacy, like, because that's one of my passions too. Like, I want to do it in different ways, but like, I'm passionate about advocacy, and it came from a very young age, because like I basically like grew up also like in a lot of family income, and coming here like as an immigrant, like you can just imagine all those situations. And I'm like always very passionate to see how I'm gonna use that as a skill and to help and support other people. So like, do you have kind of like a plan of how you're gonna do your advocacy? Because like it's done in different ways.
So obviously starting in all,
Yeah.
I think is a very important step for me. Aspiring Latino Lawyers has given me like opportunities like this where I can have a platform and help speak up for these things that I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe eventually I will get into politics. Maybe I will run for some sort of local office and things like that. I think that's something that I'm very interested in pursuing also.
Yeah, that would be great. Like, we did interview some people from like the community who went into politics, and they were like, yeah, we talk about like most like advocacy when it comes to politics. It's like, it's something we see from the outside, and sometimes like people forget like those little steps that they are supposed to go through, and they end up missing a lot. They make a lot of noise outside while not doing anything from the ground. So like, I feel like when you kind of think about that, and also like when it comes to politics too, it's hard. Like, it's a hard thing to do, because the person like we were interviewing yesterday, she was like, sometimes it makes like you work on policies, but it's not you. You're somebody else. It removes you like out like from your personality, and you embrace another personality, because that's what the jobs require. And that is quite scary, because you're really passionate about issues that are very important, but like when you into the political world, something else happens, and it's quite scary like to balance that and to think about how the world is changing so fast. The other thing that like I remember like what you're talking about, how like advocacy is a lifelong journey, whereby like we have so many issues. And one of our guests was saying that like when it comes to issues, like you can never solve everything today, because there's so many issues. You can never solve every problem in the world, but like just choose one thing that you're passionate about and do it best, which will help out many people. So like if a student who is facing these issues, maybe like immigration issues, he's an autistic person, like what advice can you give them if they're coming to the University of Arizona?
I think the best advice I could give is to seek a community, because it's always so much easier to fight the fight with someone behind you, with a team.
Yes.
I mean, even I could be that community. Like, I'm open to helping whoever I need to, and if I don't know what to do, then we'll figure it out together. But I think that would be the most important thing to do, is to find someone to walk this path with you.
It's great. So thank you so much for coming
Thank
to
you
the
for having
USD
me.
podcast. I'm really excited for what the future holds for you,
Yes,
for what
thank
you're
you.
passionate about. Those are really great issues that people don't always think about as being like main issues and concerns in the community. Since, like you said earlier, like the percentage of people suffering in that like in that bracket are kind of like few, so sometimes people don't put in like so much concerns, but I'm glad like you're able to see that and use your experience, your passion to support other people, which is really great. So I'm really excited for what the future holds for you.